Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Sight to Sideline Report. Thank you so much for tuning in. And once again, we have another jam-packed episode here today. It's going to be strictly NBA content today. We're going to be talking about the Giannis trade, something that pretty much every NBA fan has been talking about since it happened. Happened late into the night, really caught everyone off guard when they woke up the next morning. So we're going to address that first, talk about from both teams' perspectives, not the upgrades, the benefits and the downsides of the trade for both parties involved. So that will be the first NBA segment of the podcast, and then from there, we will go into the NBA drafts. At the time of recording this, and at the time of the publishing of this video, the NBA draft will be concluded. And I got a lot of thoughts. We're going to talk about it. I have two winners, two losers, and then I'll throw some other thoughts about some of the other picks I liked, some of the other picks I didn't like as we get into that segment. And then to cap off the episode, we will be talking about some offseason moves that I think could potentially be coming and that I think are logical for both teams involved, for both trade packages that I have. I have two trade packages that I will be detailing in the last segment of this podcast. So stick around for that. Stick around for the entire podcast as always. Make sure that you leave a like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts on the topics covered in this episode. And with that being said, let's just get right into the podcast and let's get right into this Giannis trade. Now, I think this Giannis Bucks relationship has really been a roller coaster for the past couple seasons, to be honest. I mean, the Bucks haven't won since their championship, right, in 2021. I believe the 2021-2022 season. They really haven't done anything since then, right? And it's been known like amongst the Bucks organization and amongst like every single NBA fan that Giannis was unhappy with not winning, right? Like Giannis is a very passionate NBA player. Everyone knows that, and he's very dedicated to winning. We saw the emotion on his face when he won the first title. Like he wants to get back there, and in my opinion, he's still a top 3 NBA player in this league. So like that talent can't be wasted. He's 30 years old, right? 30, 31. He's getting up there, right? Like at this peak dominant power, we don't know how much like time he has left. So he's got to have the best opportunity to win. And that kind of segues right into the first point I have on here for the Miami Heat is that like I just don't think this is enough. Like I don't think that what Giannis wants, right? Like Giannis wants to go to a team that can contend to win a championship, right? He's voiced that since the jump, from the moment that these trade talks or talks of him leaving in general, like even started, right? Like he's always been talking about how he wants to go to a team that is a serious threat and that will be in that conversation of who's going to take home the NBA championship, like going into the season, right? Like he wanted to be in that environment. He wanted to be in that scenario. And I saw that in Boston, right? Like, although I was skeptical about how a Jason Tatum and Giannis fit would look, that is still a championship contending team. I think they would figure it out, right? Like those are two of the top 10 players in the NBA, right? Like when healthy. Like that's just something you got to trust at the end of the day. So I thought if they did make that trade work, if Milwaukee did choose Boston as the trade partner, I thought that that could work. I was a little skeptical, but I thought that that was that contending scenario that I was kind of talking about or referring to. Um, but then Miami, right? Like I knew that in comparison, like when you compare the offer that Boston made to the offer that Milwaukee accepted from Miami, you knew that Miami was going to be giving up a lot more, right? Because the Boston trade was going to center around Jaylen Brown, right? That alone, that and a couple of picks may have been enough to get Giannis, and that was the offer that was kind of floating around. Some inside sources, right? Some reporters like Shams was reporting on it and how that was the offer. That was kind of the basis or general consensus of what the offer was going to look like. So that alone would save the Celtics a lot of depth, and that alone has costed the Miami Heat a lot of depth, which is another point I have on this list for the Miami Heat. Like this trade just cost so much. It costed. Now, yes, this defense is elite, right? Like Bam Adebayo and Giannis Antetokoumpo in the front court together is like a defensive coach's wet dream, right? Like I think Eric Spoelstra will love coaching that team, right? Just because you have two guys who defensively can do literally anything on the floor and who are extremely talented offensively at the big positions. Like you just trust that, and I think that that is something that if I was a Miami Heat fan, I would be really confident about, along with guys like Andrew Wiggins and guys like Davion Mitchell, who I think add to that defensive core and can produce that. Like Wiggins definitely more than Davion Mitchell. I don't think Davion Mitchell is that polished of an offensive player. I don't think he's that floor general point guard that a lot of teams need right now. I think he provides that. He's that point of attack defender, right? Like he's going to pick up the ball handler. He's going to make it extremely tough for the opposing point guard. He's going to be a pest. He's going to be annoying. But like offensively, he's limited. And Wiggins has shown that he can step up, right, with that one All-Star appearance with Golden State, contributing to that championship that same season. Um, like you just like I don't know, you trust Wiggins as a vet, but obviously with the age, you don't know if he hasn't produced the same as he did in Golden State the past years and had since he's been traded to Miami. So like that core, it's just I just don't think it's enough, right? Like yes, defensively they have what it takes to match up against anyone, to guard anyone, but offensively, you can't give the ball to Giannis and just move out of the way, right? Like that's not in a league with teams like the San Antonio Spurs, like the Oklahoma City Thunder, like the Boston Celtics, depending on what they do this offseason, which we will get into when we talk about the potential offseason trade packages. But like I just think that Miami gave up too much to the point where now you got to look at this team and say, okay, free agency, I'm expecting to get a lot of notifications related to the Miami Heat and free agent signings, right? Like or just like those trades around the edges, right? Like you got to do something because Giannis has voiced his concerns, like that he wants to win, like I said. But like not only that, you have a top 3 player in the world who is reaching the end of his prime. Take advantage of it. You have Eric Spoelstra who's reaching the end of his career as a coach. Like take advantage of that. You have Bam Adebayo, who he's not as old as a guy like Giannis. He's not as old as a guy like Andrew Wiggins. But like he's still like getting older, right? You don't want to waste his talent. And if they can't win with Giannis, that's just going to cause frustration amongst the entire locker room. And I have a feeling that if this Miami Heat can't get it done, which to be honest, in term like as this roster stands right now, given that they can't bring back Norman Powell, given that their depth is very depleted, I just don't think they can do that. Like, if they can't win a championship, Bam Adebayo will be frustrated. The front office will be frustrated. Like, moves will be made. Serious moves will be made. And I think that Pat Riley doesn't want that to happen, right? Like, Pat Riley has always been a guy who, besides Miami in 2012 when they got LeBron James and Chris Bosh, right? Like he's been a guy who's liked to keep his core kind of the same for extended periods of time, right? Take Jimmy Butler when Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero, and Bam Adebayo when Jimmy Butler was in Miami. Take Dwayne Wade. I mean, he kept Dwayne Wade around for as long as he could, right? Like he kept Chris Bosh around for as long as he could, right? Like he likes to keep those guys around. So I think that he's going to try to avoid that situation at all costs, to be honest. I think there's budget players in free agency that you can find. I mean, obviously, I don't have a full list of all the free agents right here. I can't name them off the top of my head with their expected salaries. But, like, I just think there are those moves that can be made. It's just all about making those moves, right? And filling in that depth because, like, as it currently stands, like, this trade, like, my third and final point on this for the Miami Heat for this trade is it enough? And like as it stands right now, it's not, right? Like it's not enough to even contend in the East, right? Like as it stands right now, the Knicks are most likely gonna come out of the East again, right? Barring any big moves, of course. Like this is how it currently stands right now. I just don't like the Knicks are at the top, right? Like Tatum's going to be healthier than he was towards the end of last season, right? Like he barely played last season, right? You got teams like the Pistons, who was the 1 seed, right? Like you got teams like the Cavaliers, who, if they don't make any trades, again, like as it stands right now, still have Harden, still have Donovan Mitchell, still have Evan Mobley, still have Jared Allen, right? Still have Jalen Tyson, still have Max Strus, right? Like they have a great core. They're coming off going to the Eastern Conference Finals. Like these are all competitive teams. The Eastern Conference is starting to become right. I want to shape this in the most, I don't want to say kind way possible, right? Because no NBA player, no NBA organization is going to care about what I say, right? But the Eastern Conference was kind of like the little brother to the Western Conference for a long period of time, simply based on like the talent that came out of it when it came down to like the All-Star game, right? Like I feel like going into it, the West just always looked better. The teams just always looked better. But as the years go on and coming off of this last season, I think that gap is narrowing even more. Granted, the West is insane, right? You got teams like the Spurs, teams like the Thunder leading the way in that division. You got Luka in that division, right? You got Jokic in that division. But like not division, conference. I'm sorry about that. You got like superstars. You got powerhouse teams in that conference. But this Eastern Conference is starting to build a serious resume in terms of the caliber of teams that are in it, right? Like the Knicks, like the Cavs, like the Celtics, right? Like these are all great basketball teams that like the Knicks, an Eastern Conference team, beat the San Antonio Spurs this year, right? A lot of or not a lot of teams, a lot of fans didn't think that was possible, right? A lot of teams, I'm sorry, it was a long day. A lot of fans went into that series taking the Spurs as the heavy favorites just because they came out of the Western Conference and the Western Conference was seen to be superior, like far superior to what the Eastern Conference had in terms of teams and in terms of talent. But like that gap is narrowing, and the Heat have to kind of like, what's the word I want to look for? They have to progress with the progression of the Eastern Conference as a whole, right? Like the Eastern Conference is continuously getting better, and if your number one player is a top three player in the world, you have to be in the conversation to come out of that conference. I'm sorry, like you got to take advantage of that with that, like any means necessary, right? Like by any means necessary, and that's just simple as that. It's not enough right now, but I trust Pat Riley. I trust the Heat organization. I trust their development of players. I think that they will make it work come October, come the time that the regular season starts. Now let's get into the Bucks side of it. This breakdown will be a lot shorter than the Miami Heat breakdown because I feel like there's a lot less to talk about, right? There's still some uncertainty in whether they're going to keep the assets that they're required, right? They've already thrown Tyler Hero's name out in trade talks, right? They're willing to move these guys. Obviously, they've like I think the entire world knows that Kyle Kuzma is available. I think regardless of whatever team he ends up on at this point, like he's going to be he's going to be on the trade block as soon as he gets there. Like I loved him in LA, but like he's just bad now. I'm sorry. That's just the point. Like it's simple as that. Anyways, like there's so much uncertainty that like it seems like there's less to talk about. But I will say that you did get if I'm a Milwaukee, like if I was a Milwaukee fan, I'd be really happy with the return that they got for Giannis in this deal. I really like Khalil Where I really think he can be a very impactful team to a very impactful piece to a championship team. I think he has all the tools to be a winning player. I think he has all the tools to be an extremely good big in this league, right? Like I don't know if he'll ever reach that all-star caliber, but I think he can reach that 15 point, 10 rebound. Like I think he can reach that sort of stat line, that sort of ceiling for a championship team, and I think he could be that impactful offensively. But not only that, I think rim protection. I think he's a very good rim protector. I think he can stretch the floor offensively. I think he's got some switchability with his length. But regardless, like I really like him as a big. Obviously, Tyler Hero. I like that. I like that. That's the headline of the deal. I think that I know that there's a story with Tyler Hero growing up in Milwaukee, the hometown kid coming home. Right. That's always a good story. That's always a feel good story. But like I just think he's a really good player, and I think that if you're giving up Giannis and you want to kind of start over, hit that restart button, Tyler Hero is a good person to say, okay, we'll let you lead the ship while we're trying to figure things out as a front office, as an organization. So I think that's a really good trade asset in this trade. And I really like Jaime Jaquez. I really like Kasparis. The 3 first-round picks, obviously, not two of them used this year. The 10th pick wasn't acquired. 3 first-round picks, one of them used this year, right? Like Nate Ament, I think that was a great draft pick. I think Braden Burns was a great pick at 10. I think that this front office is making all the right moves, and I think that, granted, I think that it is a little late to start this rebuild, right? Because I feel like last year was the time to do it when Giannis's trade value was as high as it was, when teams weren't as skeptical about that depth, when teams were just like salivating at the fact that Giannis was on the trade block, or not on the trade block. I shouldn't say that. Like Giannis was never on the trade block, but when Giannis's name was made available for trade, like I think that teams had so much time to really weigh out the pros and cons of a Giannis deal, so that kind of narrowed it down. But and teams progressed and started to trust themselves more, like the Spurs who were in those talks last offseason. But I still really like the return. I really like the picks that they made. I really like the current roster that they have. Obviously, they're not going to win anything, right? Like, I don't think they're going to be a playoff contender. I don't even know if they're going to make the play-in, right? But they're very deep in terms of the draft assets they now have, the rookies, the picks, and in terms of just the players they have and the talent that they have. You could throw some unique lineups out there. I really like the center rotation of Khalil Ware and Miles Turner. Ousmane Dieng showed some flashes towards last season. You got vets like Kyle Kuzma. I mean, do with that what you will. Ryan Rollins had a really good year last year, obviously. I'm expecting another jump from him this year. Maybe not as big as last year, obviously, but maybe a jump to like 18, 19 points per game with this newly opened up offense and newly opened up opportunity for him. But like in terms of that, like it's kind of like I keep saying rebuild, right? And I keep referring to what the Bucks are doing right now as a rebuild, which I think in the grand scheme of things, when you look at this trade as a whole, yes, it all signs point to a rebuild, right? You gave up Bobby Portis and Giannis Antetokoumpo, two old players, or not old, older players on the older side, above 30, and you get picks in return, you get young players in return, right? Like all signs point to that as a rebuild. But at the same time, like I look at this Bucks team, and with the talent that they have, like this looks like a team that can be pretty sneaky with Taylor Jenkins at the head coaching position, who has proven that he can make the most out of talent. Like take Memphis for example, like when he was taking advantage of the injuries that they had, right? Like even though that they didn't perform well as a team, they didn't have the best record. I shouldn't even say they didn't have the best record. They had like the worst record in the league. Um like he still developed that talent. Like you really saw it in guys like G Jackson, like Zach Edey, like Jalen Wells, right? Like you saw him develop that talent, and I think that like with that on top of the roster that they have, like they can be fairly competitive in the East and could fight for a playoff spot. Like I don't think that they will, but I think that they're have that kind of team structure where they're gonna be competitive every single night. They're gonna go out there and try to win and try to prove everyone wrong. So like my question, like I had the question, is it enough for Miami? My question for Milwaukee is, what is the expectation this season? Like we know moving forward, you want to use those draft assets. You want to use Nate Mann and Brandon Burris moving forward. You want to maybe if you don't trade Tyler Hero, build around him moving forward, right? Like you have a lot of ways, like different directions you can go. So like, what direction do you want to go? Do you want to tank? Do you want to get another good draft pick next year? Or are you going to try to be competitive? Just say, look, go out and play basketball. We'll see what happens, right? We'll work from there. Like that's also a direction that they can go. It's a logical direction. Um, so yeah, I just don't know. Like that's my question. That's something that I'm just wondering, right? Like what is their direction? What is their expectation for their team and for what they're going to produce this season? And where they're going to stand at the end of the season amongst the Eastern Conference. So I believe that is all for the Giannis trade. So when we come back, we will be talking all about the NBA draft. I will be giving two of my winners, two of my losers in terms of teams, and just some of the picks I liked, some of the players I liked coming out of the draft. So stick around. And now, moving on to the second segment of the podcast, we will be talking about the NBA draft. There's a lot to take away from it, right? This was one of the more highly touted draft classes of recent NBA memory. There's a lot. It was a star-studded class, right, from top to bottom, right? The top four was kind of set in stone going into it with AJ Demancey, Darren Peterson, Cam Boozer, and Caleb Wilson, highlighting the draft class. And that kind of segues perfectly right into the first winner of this segment. I have 2 winners and 2 losers. And the first winner of this segment, could probably tell by my shirt, it's the Chicago Bulls. And I tried to be as unbiased as I could have been going into planning this podcast episode. But the more I look at who the Bulls picked in the first round, the more I like it, man. Like, Caleb Wilson has the potential. I need you guys to understand this, because I know the majority of the people watching this right now are from the area that I live, right? You guys live in the Chicagoland area. Caleb Wilson is what Chicago Bulls fans have been looking for since Jimmy Butler. Or maybe not even Jimmy Butler, since Derrick Rose. We have been looking for a star, more specifically coming out of the draft, to lift us Chicago Bulls fans out of this mediocrity. And I believe that this is the start of that. Caleb Wilson has the potential to be a superstar in this league. The athleticism is already there. The ability to get to the rim is already there. The ability to create for himself is already there. The mid-range is already there, right? Like, obviously the 3-point has some work to do, right? Which is seemingly a common trend for a lot of draft prospects of recent memory, is that a lot of these draft prospects just don't have that jump shot going into it. And that is exactly why I'm not that concerned about it. A lot of people are like, well, who else on this Bulls roster do you have that could really space the floor? And what I say, that's what we have free agency to worry about. Let's get Caleb Wilson in the door, the obvious pick. Let's build around Caleb Wilson. He has all the intangibles to be a star. He's got the personality. He's dedicated to Chicago. He loves being in Chicago, right? Like, you saw a smile on his face as soon as the Bulls were announced to draft him. Like, he has what it takes. Him and Buzelis is going to be a really cool wing duo moving forward. I really like them alongside Giddey. I think that they could get up and down the court at a great rate this season. And I just think there's a lot to look forward to. On top of the 15th pick, Dalen Swain, who I really like as well. As a 3-and-D guard, not even a 3-and-D guard. As a defensive guard, I think he's got great length, right? I think he's got great tenacity on that side of the ball. On top of having that ability and that kind of like ferocity. Is ferocity even a word? Ferociousness. Ferocity is not even a word. Ferociousness, kind of getting to the rim. He's got that downhill, head down mindset, and I really like that. I really like that alongside Caleb Wilson and Montez Buzelis and Nick Claxton, who we got in that Julius Randle trade, which I didn't mention in this podcast. I won't mention in this podcast, but I really like that move for the Bulls. We finally got a center who could do what we've been needing a center to do, and that is get rebounds and protect the rim at a above average rate. We don't even need a good rate, like at an above average rate. And we have that in Nick Claxton now. We have that in guys like Caleb Wilson and Dalen Swain, who could bring that on the defensive side of the floor and have so much room to grow on that side of the floor. Offensive, not even just on that side of the floor, on the offensive side of the floor as well. And I just think they made all the right picks. And that is why, like, a lot of teams are like, the 4 teams that are going to be listed in this segment, they're on it for different reasons. And the reason the Bulls are a winner in this draft is just because they made good picks. They made the correct picks to, like, I feel like when I say made good picks, I don't just mean get the best player available, right? Because that player may not fit into your system right away. He may not develop under your coaching staff, right? Like, there's so many things to take into account. And I think that when I say good picks, the definition of good picks, in my opinion, is picks that align with the direction that you're going as an organization, that aligns with the rest of your roster in terms of they can fit right in and they could, like, progress with your team, right? Like, I don't like picks that don't make sense in terms of, like, take Neat Clifford last year to the Kings, for example. Like, Neat Clifford has the prototype to contribute to a winning team right away. Like, him getting drafted to Sacramento was not a good pick because Sacramento obviously was not in position to contend for even the playoffs last year, right? Like, he had no room to grow in that system. He had the ball in his hands a lot more than he should have going into his rookie year. Like, I just, like, that's an example of a bad pick. It just doesn't align with where they're going. He doesn't fit into that scheme. He got little playing time, and when he did get playing time, like, his role isn't what it's going to be moving forward. It doesn't align with what's best in his game, and, like, that's just an example of a bad pick. And I think that the Bulls strayed from that, and they've been known to do that in the past. Like, Patrick Williams at number 4, no Bulls fan will ever forget that. One of the worst picks in NBA history. Like, it's just as simple as that. Like, the Bulls front office, we couldn't trust them anymore. Even under with new heads at the table, a lot of guys, or not a lot of guys, a lot of Bulls fans kind of were still skeptical going into it just because of the track record. Just because we've had picks like Wendell Carter. We've had picks like Ayo Dosunmu and Kobe White who aren't even on the team anymore, right? Like, players that are good basketball players that we just can't develop in our system, in our organization. But I think that I had a lot of optimism going in. I thought that this was really going to turn around, and it did. And that's why they're a winner on this list. They made the right picks that align with the direction they're going in, and I'm just really satisfied as a Bulls fan. Call it bias, call it whatever you want. The Bulls are a winner in this draft, and they are first in my winners category. And the second team in this winners category is, they're on it for different reasons, right? Like, I know I just said that all the teams on this are in this segment for different reasons, but, like, the Grizzlies have multiple reasons for being a winner in this draft, and I think that the most notable of which is what they did in the front office, what they did with trades. Like, getting 5 second-round picks just to move back 5 spots, I think that's an amazing deal. I think everyone looked at that and said, wow, the Grizzlies are really making some noise in terms of the moves they were making, how aggressive they were to get those second-round picks, to get those assets. And then to still fall back those 5 spots and get a guy like Kareem Lopez, who I compared going into the draft to a guy like Sadiq Bey, a guy like DeAndre Hunter. Maybe not entirely as a shooter, but, like, he has the size, he has the scoring ability, right? Like, he has the physicality. He fits this Memphis system, or not this Memphis system, this Memphis culture so well. I think that, like, on top of Cam Boozer, who I didn't even have to mention, right? Like, Cam Boozer is not even what makes this Grizzlies, what makes the Grizzlies a winner in this draft. Like, and he was the 3rd pick just because of how obvious that pick was, and just because of how good they were throughout the rest of the draft in terms of the moves they made, the picks they made, right? Like, they just made all the right moves because this Grizzlies team is not going to be winning anytime soon. And I think that they are finally realizing that, and with making Ja available as they've made them, granted, I don't know who's going to take Ja at this point, but they're going in the right direction. They understand where they are. They understand the point they're at in terms of their rebuild, and they're just taking advantage of that. They're doing the Sam Presti method. They're doing the Sam Presti method and just going in all in for the draft picks, and I respect the hell out of it. The second round is becoming more and more valuable as the next generation of basketball players get more and more talented. Like, those picks are valuable. Like, a lot of people, like, a couple years ago, a second round pick would be thought to be nothing, right? Like, you get a player for a second round pick, you would have thought to won the trade by a landslide. But now you can't say that. Like, those second round picks are valuable. They acquired 5 of them to move back 5 spots, right? Like, that's a win. Drafting Cam Boozer, drafting Kareem Lopez, 2 players who fit the Memphis culture, who fit that identity of that team and that layout of that team as it is right now. Like, that's a win. The Grizzlies won in literally every way imaginable, and that's why they're a winner. And the Bulls and the Grizzlies are my 2 biggest winners coming out of the draft. And one of them may be biased. One of them I think is well-deserved. I think both are well-deserved, but that's up to you guys to decide. Please let me know in the comments, like I say in every podcast. And with that being said, we'll go right into the losers. We had 2 winners. We'll have 2 losers. And my first loser is the Indiana Pacers. So be short and sweet. For those Pacers fans watching, I don't want to rub it in your face even more. You're a loser because you didn't have the 5th pick. Not only did you not have the 5th pick, you didn't have a 1st round pick. Right? Like, you tanked. You had a really bad year. Everyone saw the vision. Everyone saw the plan. Right? Like, everyone trusted what you guys were doing. Right? Like, with Hallie coming back this upcoming year, you got Zubac. Right? Like, you thought that you guys were in a great position. But then that Zubac trade turned into you giving up the 5th pick. And that hurts, man. Like, I'm not going to lie. That alone puts you as one of the biggest losers in this draft just because you see that 5th pick and you realize that it could have been yours. And even though I don't think Keaton Wagler is going to be a phenomenal NBA player, I have some skepticisms with his toughness, with his ability to create space at the next level. I think that is something that I am curious to see how we'll play going into even summer league. Like, even with that being said, like, if the Clippers, I mean, not the Clippers, if the Pacers had this pick, like, even getting a guy like Braden Burries, right, getting an explosive guard like that to pair next to Tyrese Halliburton, like, even just getting a young guy like that alongside the core that you're going to have coming back this upcoming year, like, that would have been such a benefit. And now that you didn't have any picks, like, I do think that the Pacers will make the playoffs this upcoming year, but it still hurts. It hurts really bad, and I saw it, and they mentioned it I saw the Clippers on the clock, and the broadcasters mentioned it multiple times on the broadcast. Like, that pick was supposed to be the Pacers, and for the season that the Pacers had, they deserved that pick, and that is why they're a loser on this. That's why they're a loser in the segment, because that was supposed to be their pick. They deserved the pick, and they lost it for a bigger vision that didn't end up playing out. So they are the first loser on this list. And the second loser on this list is the Philadelphia 76ers. I was about to say my Philadelphia 76ers. They're not mine. Granted, I do have a Joel Embiid jersey. That is just because I really like the jersey. I really like the City of Brotherly Love design. I'm not a Sixers fan. But the Philadelphia 76ers are my second loser on this list. And that is because, like, all right. One of the biggest takeaways from round 1 of the draft was that LeBron Philon was the biggest drop, like the biggest prospect to drop in terms of where scouts thought he was going to get taken versus where he actually got taken, right? Like, so I understand the mindset that, like, oh, this good of a prospect is still available. Why not take this guy? How many years do the Sixers have to draft guards? Like, it's a serious question. I think Daryl Morey has an addiction to drafting guards. He drafted Jared McCain. He drafted VJ Edgecombe. He's now drafted LeBron Philon 3 straight years. Like, I understand the vision. Like, we've seen it with VJ Edgecombe obviously panned out. Like, I really like Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe moving forward. But, like, why do you keep doubling down on these guards that, like, we saw it with Jared McCain that you just don't trust in long term? Like, obviously, Quentin Grimes is not going to be on the team next year. I don't think he will be. I think they will be moving on from him because I think he has far exceeded the role that he is in right now in Philadelphia with how loaded that backcourt is. But, like, even then, it's going to be hard for LeBron to get on the floor. Like, he's extremely talented, but again, this backcourt is just so loaded. There's so many guards on this. Excuse that. Let's just pretend like that didn't happen. Like, the Philadelphia 76ers has so many guards, they have so many backcourt options that, like, it's going to be easy for LeBron Philon to fall under the same fate that Jared McCain fell under, and that is an extremely talented rookie who would make it work anywhere else except Philadelphia because of the situation they're in terms of the guards that they have and the roster that they have right now. Like, I just don't like the pick. 22 is a great pick. Like, there was a lot of great options there. I really would like a Chris Sinak in that situation. I thought that was the pick that they would have made in that situation. But, like, again, like, I just don't know. Like, LeBron Philon was just not the pick there. You can't keep relying on these guards. You can't keep drafting these guards hoping that they're going to find a way. They're going to all be like an VJ Edgecombe because I don't think LeBron Philon's going to be that. Again, he's very talented. I don't think he's going to be that. I don't think it's going to work out. Size-wise, I don't think defensively, I don't think he's going to work, right? I don't think he just fits in this Philadelphia team in general. I don't think they can mask that. I don't think that with this roster as it currently stands, they can mask. Like, they could have filled the need for... They have so many needs in terms of, like, backup, like, depth positions that they could have filled with this with this 22nd pick, that they just didn't, and they chose to get the best player available, and I think that that's going to bite them in the ass. I think that I don't have a lot of expectations for them this upcoming season, but like I just think that just furthers it. Like that just does nothing. You have the 22nd pick, you have a first round pick, might as well make the most out of it, or might as well move on from it, trade it, get other assets in return. But instead, you just waste it, and you get a guard that realistically won't be playing in this team unless there's some big roster shakeup, right? Like he won't be playing for this team. He won't get serious minutes for this team going into his rookie year because there's when you could have gotten guys you could plug in right away, like a guy like Chris Sinak, like I just said, like he would have fit perfectly in my opinion. But anyways, not a Philadelphia fan. I know I'm getting really passionate right now. It just frustrates me when teams make bad picks. And that'll do it. I think that's a perfect place to end the NBA draft segment of this podcast. So when we return, the last segment of the podcast will be 2 offseason trade packages that I drew up that I think are realistic and I think could benefit both parties involved. So please stick around. And now for the final segment of this episode of Sights and Sideline Report, we will be talking about the NBA offseason. Now, with the NBA draft now concluded, that means that the NBA offseason is set into motion. It is swung into motion. The NBA offseason has always been one of my favorite periods of time amongst any sports, just because throughout my history of watching the NBA, there's always been big moves, right? There's always been some of my favorite players switching teams, right? Take KD going to the Nets, for example. Or, he didn't get traded, but KD signing with the Nets, for example. KD and Kyrie. Take, what's another trade in the offseason recently? Even last offseason, why can I not think? Even that Desmond Bane trade, that was a cool trade to witness, right? Just because I felt like that was the right move for the Magic to make in the current moment in time. The NBA offseason just entails so much in terms of excitement, entertainment. You're just always on that. If you're a hardcore NBA fan, from June to the end of July, you're on the edge of your seat, keeping your phone on you at all times, keeping track of the notifications, keeping track of the moves being made, right? Because that just excites us. It excites us to plan towards next season in this period of time where there's no basketball until July. Summer league, even then, not a lot of people tune into summer league, right? A lot of fans have no basketball to watch until the NBA rolls around in October. And I'm just really excited for this offseason in particular, starting off hot with the Giannis trade. And, ever since the Giannis trade, I feel like a lot of NBA fans are kind of sharing the common thought that, okay, now that Giannis got traded, there's nothing really to look forward to this offseason. This offseason is going to be boring. This free agency is going to be boring. And while I do think that nothing will quite reach the extent or the magnitude of the Giannis Antetokoumpo to Miami trade, I don't think anything will match that, but I do think there are some league-altering moves that will be made this offseason, and I think that there are moves that can be made. I think that there are teams that can assert themselves into the playoff picture, that can solidify themselves into the playoff picture with just one move, right? And that kind of segues. I feel like I've had some really good segues today. Can I get, a round of applause for that? Can I just get it? Please. I'm working on it, man. What is this, episode 7, right?
Bruh.
18 years old. But, my segues have been pretty good. Anyways, and that kind of perfectly segues into the first trade I have on this list, and that is, I know in the title of this video, when you saw trade packages, when you saw NBA offseason moves, whatever it's going to be titled, you immediately thought of a Jaylen Brown trade, right? You thought of, what team am I going to send Jaylen Brown to? And the team I'm sending him to is a team that hasn't been talked about a lot recently. I've seen their name thrown out there a couple times. I've seen them thrown out there as a possible destination within the 3-team trade involving Giannis. But now that the Giannis trade happened, people have kind of stopped talking about them. And that team is the Portland Trailblazers, right? Portland had a lot. Obviously, no one took them to beat the Spurs in the first round, right? I don't even think they took themselves to beat the Spurs in the first round. They were just severely outmatched, but they showed a lot. They showed a lot throughout the regular season. They showed a lot in the playoffs. I really like the head coaching move they made. I really like the Wolves assistant. I keep forgetting his name. I think it's like Riccio or something is his last name. Really like him as a coach when he stepped up for Minnesota. Like, I think they're making all the right moves and they're going in the right direction. I think they're in that direction. But, like, with Damian Lillard coming back, that kind of puts a timetable on this. You're paying him a decent amount of money. You have other guys like Denny Avdia on this team. Like, you have talent to make it work and to be competitive. Why not take advantage of that, right? Like, you see a guy like Jaylen Brown who's on the trade market, like, jump on that. If I'm Portland, I'm jumping on that. And the offer I would make if I was Portland and the offer I would accept if I was Boston in a Portland Jaylen Brown trade would be Portland receiving only Jaylen Brown and Boston receiving Scoot Henderson, Jeremy Grant, Jan Hansen, and a 2027 and 2031 first round pick. Now, I know it may not be the most attractive offer to the eye, but when you really look at it, what the Celtics are lacking right now, the Celtics' biggest holes on their roster is a lead guard, right? Because you don't really trust Payton Pritchard to be your floor general lead point guard, right? At this current moment in time. And Derek White, that's not Derek White's position, right? He's much better as an off-ball shooter, as a guy who's kind of like catches the ball and makes a move off of that, right? Like he doesn't really bring the ball to the floor and create offense in terms of like creating shots for himself or anything of that nature. So like this trade kind of addresses that, right? Like I know Jan Hansen's kind of like a troll at this point. Like he's kind of like a meme amongst the NBA community at this point, but like he fills that hole. I think that he's shown a lot of positive things, a lot of flashes, even in that summer league in the regular season. Like I think he can be an impactful rotation player. Even if he's the 9th or 10th man in the rotation, I think you could throw him in there. You add a veteran like Jeremy Grant, right? Like who hasn't been to the pinnacle, who hasn't won a championship, but has been on some very good teams and has been pretty impactful on those teams. And then a guy like Scoot Henderson, right, who's the second pick in Victor Wembanyama's draft class, 2023. Like, he is the centerpiece of this trade, the centerpiece of this Portland trade package. And if I'm Boston, I would love that, right? I would love Scoot Henderson to fill that role as my lead guard, right? Take Peyton Pritchard off the bench again, right? Like he thrived in that role. And then you have a lineup like Scoot Henderson, Derek White, Jeremy Grant, Jason Tatum, and Neemias Queta, right? With Jan Hansen, Peyton Pritchard, Sam Hauser, if you still have him around, right? Like guys like that coming off the bench, Jordan Walsh, Ron Harper Jr., who showed some flashes towards the end of the last season, got a start in Game 7, which proved not to be the best decision. But anyways, got that start, got that nod. Coach Missoula trusted him that much, right? They have those pieces that they really utilized this past year that I think gives them an advantage going into this year. I think they have weapons that are prepared. They have guys who have reps. They have young guys who've gotten reps. And this trade, if you're going to trade Jaylen Brown, I think that adding 2 first-round picks and adding a guy like Scoot Henderson, adding depth in guys like Jeremy Grant and Young Hansen, and then for Portland, like Jaylen Brown, Damian Lillard, Denny Avdia, Tumani Kamara, and Donovan Clingan in the starting lineup. Like, that is a serious threat in the Western Conference, regardless of what you say. With guys like Drew Holiday still coming off the bench, with guys like Matisse Thybulle, who's always an impactful defender, one of the best defenders in the league still, even though he's never going to be able to produce anything offensively. Guys like Time Lord who are still on the roster, right? Like, you have young guys like Caleb Love who stepped up last year, right? Like, you have guys on this team that if you add a guy like Jaylen Brown on this team, like to this roster, it immediately makes him a threat because Damian Lillard's going to be coming back. That would give him an extreme extension in like how much time he has until he has to be fully prepared, fully back to that Damian Lillard that we know. Like having a guy like Jaylen Brown and having guys like Jaylen Brown and Denny Avdia leading the way while Damian Lillard still recovers from this torn Achilles. It would be extremely beneficial for the Trailblazers, and like I said, I think Boston wins this trade too. Like I think it's the move that Sorry, I thought someone was opening the door. I think this move helps both teams moving forward, and I think that like if Jaylen Brown were to be traded, I think that this is the most even trade that I could come up with. That is the thing I'm striving for. Like obviously, what gives me the idea for these trades is just these star players who are rumored to be getting traded. in different jerseys and in amongst different rosters. But I really just want to make it as realistic as possible, make it as fair as possible, even though I know the NBA is not always like that. There's always fleeces here and there. I just wanted to make them as fair as possible just so I could, I don't know. I don't know, just because I feel like that's the best thing to do, right? You want to make it believable. You want to make it seem like it could really happen, because if it does happen, I can pat myself on the back, right? I don't know why I'm doing it right now. I didn't get anything right. Let's just move on, shall we? To the second trade of this segment and the final part of this episode of Side to Sideline Report, and that is a Jamal Murray trade. Look, I mentioned it in a previous podcast when I talked about Denver after they got booted from the playoffs. You gotta shake something up, right? You gotta shake this core up. Obviously, you're not going to trade Jokic, right? Like, the Nuggets would never think about doing that at this current juncture. But Jamal Murray's expendable. Like, with how talented the, not only just point guard pool, the combo guard pool is in today's NBA, Jamal Murray's expendable at this point. And if you've seen that this core cannot work, and there's not very high value on other guys like Aaron Gordon, guys you got coming off the bench like Payne Watson, who's an upcoming free agent that you got to extend, like, shake it up. Get rid of Jamal Murray. And in this trade, in him going to Toronto, which is where I have him going in this trade, I think you get the most return. I think you get the best of, I think both teams get the best of both worlds. I think Toronto, you're really in desperate need of that lead scorer, that primary shot creator from the guard position, on top of Scotty Barnes, who's an elite defender, an elite all-around player, right? Like, was on my list for most valuable players in the playoffs, even though they got booted first round. Like, that is how good of a player he is. And guys like Brandon Ingram, and guys like, you know what? I shouldn't even get into that right now. Let me just get into the trade. In this trade, the Denver Nuggets give up Jamal Murray and Zeke Naji, and the Toronto Raptors give up Emmanuel Quickley, Jakob Poeltl, Jamison Battle, a 2027 first-round pick, and a 2030 second. Now, I believe that this is a fair trade from both sides, right? Starting from Toronto, you get that lead shot creator, like I said. I'll just finish that point. Still got guys like Jacoby Walter who could step up, who I think can still be a really impactful player moving forward. You got guys like CMB who had an extremely great rookie year. And, like, sure, you're giving up your starting center, but CMB has been proven to be useful as a small ball center for this team. They even used him as a small ball center in the playoffs. Like, it worked, and he is a versatile player. They still have the pieces around that core. If this trade were to happen, they would still have the pieces around, and they could make those moves on. I didn't even mention guys like Jamal Shead and Grady Dick that are still on the roster. Like, you can make those moves in free agency around the edges to really make them a serious contender in the East. So that's why I would do it if I was Toronto. And then if I'm Denver, if I'm switching it up and if I'm trading Jamal Murray, a package including Emmanuel Quickley, who is an extremely explosive scorer, fits that same kind of mold as Jamal Murray in terms of their scoring archetype. Emmanuel Quickley is definitely quicker off the ball and utilizes that a lot more than Jamal Murray does. But, like, in terms of how they would fit alongside Jokic, I think that it would look extremely similar. I think that you're not really experiencing too much of a drop-off in that. You don't have to change the scheme too much in terms of that, and he's still an 18-point-per-game scorer, can still give you 30 to 40 every single night, or any given night, I should say. And Jakob Poeltl, like, Jonas Valanciunas will not be on the roster next year. I don't even know if he will be on a roster next year, just because of his age and just because of his production slump. So getting a guy like Jakob Poeltl as your backup center, who, granted, you'd be paying a lot of money for a backup center, but, like, that provides so much security in terms of your success without Jokic, because that's been one of the biggest question marks for this Nuggets team in this Jokic era, is that when Nikola Jokic isn't on the floor, the team fumbles, the team crumbles, the team depletes, right? Like, they just don't play the same. They don't have the same offense. They don't have the same, I don't want to say mojo. They don't have the same burst. Like, they don't have the same, like, boost in, I don't know. They just don't have that engine, right? Like, no engine will ever compare to Jokic. But, like, they've never had that backup big that you could put in, kind of like how Luke Cornett was for the Spurs, kind of like how Mitchell Robinson was for the Knicks. Like guys you can put in to give your star big man a break, and you don't experience that much of a slump. Like you don't like teams like the Knicks and teams like the Spurs don't experience like those big shifts in production when their star player goes out because they have that depth at the positions where their star players, like the positions that their star players play, right? Like they just they're prepared for those situations. They're prepared to manage their star players' playing time, and like bringing a guy like Jakob Poeltl in, who is older, who's 31, I believe, bringing him in, and like granted, he's not going to produce the most, but he's still going to be produce more than Giannis Antetokoumpo. He's going to be the best backup big that Nikola Jokic has ever had. On top of Jamison Battle, who proved to be, I don't want to say an extremely productive role player because I think that would be a stretch, who proved to be productive as a role player for the Raptors in the playoffs, who proved to step up in those playoff minutes when he didn't really get those minutes in the regular season, step up in those minutes and knock down some big shots, knock down some threes, play some good defense, right? He's got some good size as a role player. And then a first and a second, just a cherry on top, right? Like the Nuggets, if this doesn't work out, if Jokic wants to leave, which I don't think he ever will, if Jokic wants to leave, if Jokic retires, whatever the case may be, and you're in a position where you need to rebuild, you now have some assets that you could kind of build off of, right? Like those first round picks, Emmanuel Quickly is younger than Jamal Murray, right? Like you have some of those younger guys, you have some of those draft picks that you could build off of if things go astray. And yeah, that's kind of why each team would accept this trade. And with that being said, that will conclude episode 7 of Site to Sideline Report. Thank you guys so much for watching this. If you made it to the end of this episode, I appreciate it more than you know. Stay tuned. Another episode will be coming out very shortly. I have a lot more time to record these episodes, and there's a lot more to talk about. I want to start talking about UFC. Speaking of that, I forgot to address this at the start of the podcast, but if you're coming here via Instagram, I apologize for not talking about MMA this episode. If you're looking forward to that, anticipate that for the next episode. I had some worries about the time, about how long this episode would run if I talked about MMA as well. So I decided to cut it out of this episode. I apologize for that. But stay tuned in the next episode. I promise I will be talking about that in the next episode. There's a lot to talk about in terms of the UFC community and what's going on and what to look forward to in terms of MMA. But as always, leave a like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts on the topics covered in this video, and stay tuned for when the next episode comes out. Thank you guys so much. Have a blessed rest of your week.